Well, we used to farm 50,000 hectares in Russia. That's when it gets a bit more stressful. If you're willing to work hard, it's amazing what you can achieve. My name's David Metcalfe of Metcalfe Farms. I look after all the finance here in the office for all the businesses. We have several businesses, and I also look after the quarrying activities as well here. I left school in 1980 or 79, I can't remember now, and there was just me, my dad and my uncle 2 days a week, and we were milking 80 cows and we had some sheep. My 2 other brothers, they were still at school. After I left school, we increased the dairy cows up to 150. My other 2 brothers left school, and then we started agricultural contracting. And then I think it was about 2005, we bought 1 wagon, and then that gradually became 100 wagons. The cows, various expansions over the years, took us up to 1,300 like dairy cows now, plus the 800 followers. During these expansions, we were building the buildings, we were running into the hillside and having big problems with the rock, and eventually the rock got so steep that we had to blast it out, and then we decided to crush it. We only have about 5 months left to go, well, not even 5 months, maybe 3 months like behind me now, and then we're finished on that. I grew up next door to 2 big quarries. We knew that we were sat on rock, and also we'd had contract crushing companies in crushing the rock that we dug out for buildings, which we'd always used ourselves. And initially we did start with a contractor when we went bigger about 6 years ago, but eventually ended up with all our machinery. So yes, I've had to learn a lot, but I did have some knowledge. I'm very lucky that I have a really good team of men behind me running this job. Very lucky. The quarry side, initially it was 1 person, then it became 2. Now there's 4 full-time in the quarry, plus probably another 1 or 2 full-time equivalents, like on a day-to-day, stripping soil off, moving stuff about, that sort of thing. Well, we started with 1 crusher, the McCloskey crusher. We now have, I'm just trying to think, we have a big Gippo impactor, Gippo 150 from Switzerland, impactor crusher. Power Screen Max Track 1300 cone crusher, the secondary crusher, which is crushing behind us as we speak. We have 2 screens which screen the various materials into the different sizes. And we also have a McCloskey jaw crusher, which is across in the other quarry. Also, when we started with the quarrying, we were just using one of the farm loading shovels, one of the JCB 435s, which was basically no good at all for loading high arctics. We had to build a ramp. And then we had a Class Torian for a little while. We then bought a Volvo L180H, and now we have 3 big Volvos. We have 2 L180Hs and an L220H, and they work in the quarry full time. Plus we have a JCB 457, which does some of the tidying up work or covers when one of them's been serviced. In about 2 or 3 months' time, we'll be finished quarrying here for the new buildings. But about 12 or 14 years ago, we bought some land near the lane end that had planning on it to be quarried. So we're just starting to open that up now. So we will continue and quarry all that out, and there's several million tonnes up there, so it should see me to retirement, hopefully.
My name's Robert Metcalfe. My role here at Metcalfe Farms is I do a lot on the feeding up side, a lot of maintenance, a lot of projects, little things we've got going on, big things we've got going on, just keeping the whole place going really. We have my dad who runs a dairy solely, and then underneath my dad we've got me and my brother, and then a team of other managers that have their own different aspects and different corners that they take care of. That's what they're ultimately responsible for, and that's how we split it up. And then We have different members of staff in different parts of the dairy that look after their own thing, and it all works like a branch. We find that that's very easy to look after. You've got all eyes on all corners, basically. I left school in 2017 and I started college on an apprenticeship. I've worked here 7 years or just over full time now. I did milking and other jobs when I was in school, but full time in the business 7 years. In terms of tractor work, my cousin Richard, he looks after the contracting business and they do all of our tractor work for us. It works really well, just means that we have a lot of keen tractor lads that just want to drive tractors. They can stick to that. Keen as mustard really, you know, they're just on it, they're brilliant. It works really well because we don't have to worry about any of that. That's taken away from us and we can focus on the cows. In these sheds, we're milking 1,300 and then we maybe have about 400 heifers on this site as well. We've got calves housed here and then other heifers at a farm about 15 minutes away as well. That makes up the herd. So they're all Holstein. We're running an all year round calving system. We feed everything on this site with our self-propelled Keenan mixer. It's a TMR ration. We feed silage, whole crop, a lot of core products and a lot of straights. Quite a complex diet, but that's all worked out for us and it works really well. Yeah, so we focused on yields, driving the yield. Our milk goes for bottled milk, so not too much on the solids. So we're milking 3 times a day through a 72-point Bowmatic rotary parlour. It works really well and very efficient, nice and calm. Cows seem to go through it very well. Our whole farm was built around, or when we expanded, should I say, it was built around efficiency around the parlour. All the sheds and all the groups come to one race and it just minimises the time that they walk into parlour, the time that they stood, and also the fastest route back for them. On farm, we're producing 66,000 cube of slurry a year. That's all put through an anaerobic digester and then spread on the land. The digester's on site, it's just up behind these cow sheds and it's very easily run. We just have some submersible pumps that pump the product up to the digester. It goes through the fermenter and then downhill into a lagoon that we've got further back in the fields. So I look after the digester. Slurry consistency is important. It's got to be well mixed. It's important to keep rainwater out of the slurry. You want raw slurry going up into that digester as much as possible to take advantage of the gas. You want the best gas yield and also capacity as well. You just really want slurry in and that's about it really. There's not much labour that goes involved into the day-to-day running of the digester. It's about half an hour a day for me, first thing in the morning, just meter readings, checks, make sure it's all running smoothly, make sure the product's still going in like it should be. It's only when something goes wrong that I have to get hands on and start fixing, which isn't very often to be honest, because it's a very simple digester, we're only putting slurry in. It's not like a crop fed one, there's much more to those. Purely runs off slurry and in the middle of summer we can get 360 kilowatts, probably a bit less through winter. Because one of the big battles is temperature with a digester. You know, you're putting all that product in, the engines are producing electric and heat. The heat's going back into the tank to keep your product in there warm. And then if the weather changes or the gas levels start to drop, you have to increase your feed rate. That can all affect the temperature, and the temperature has to be between about 38 and 45 degrees in order to produce, in order for the bugs to work and produce that gas. The digester is extremely beneficial. It does wonders for the grassland, and we're using less chemical fertiliser as well, just because of the nitrogen content in the digestate. I've been in charge of the digester for nearly a year now. There's a lot to learn, even just with the technology, the sensors, replacing stuff, the electric side of things. There's a lot of stuff I have to do myself. If the engine stops for whatever reason, it's an electrical issue, I'm on the phone to the company. They say, try this, do that. You know, there's a lot of learning. Stuff is wearing and needs to be replaced. And it's probably a good time for me to step into it because all these repairs in the future I'll be able to say, yeah, I know exactly what that problem is and I can sort that without being on the phone. Or
6 lads out on tankers and bits today, but like there's me and 4 lads in here, so just sort of keep them ticking over. Trying to get them on with their own repairs instead of relying on me or Nick or someone to do it for them, because if they do that, then they just seem to just dump stuff on you and then they're not worried about breaking stuff really. Slurrying's grown a hell of a lot in the last 2 years. We've got 4 Slurry cat tankers and then we're running Slurry equipped dribble bars, 12-metre dribble bars. We've got 3 Slurry equipped 12-metre dribble bars, Slurry equipped reelers, bower pumps, 6 bower pumps, 2 engine driven tram spread pumps, bowers, a Maztec 12-metre bar, and then we've got 3 24-metre Vogelsand dribble bars for corn. So yeah, so this Traxel behind me, it's the only one we've got so far. It's a 5,200 gallon tanker. Spec them out, all of the tankers now we spec with overhead booms, just for so much quicker getting on nurse tanking. Do quite a lot of nurse tanking nowadays, so the amount of time you save with the overhead booms is ridiculous compared to getting out, putting a pipe on, waiting to blow out, getting back out again. Speccing them all now with hydraulic pumps on them, mainly safety reasons nowadays. Going into a lot of AD plants, they're liking to see the hydraulic driven pumps more, just for safety purposes. And as well, you save a lot of money on shaft guards. Like everyone knows, you soon bugger a shaft guard, like, so obviously we've eliminated that problem. Big vacuum pumps on them. Started speccing them with the funnel on top as well at the back of the tanks. Do a bit of work where we're leading to Zirians and Samson tankers with dribble bars on. Probably do maybe 50-50, 50% cow slurry, pig slurry, and then 50% digestate. Find the digestate, it's a lot richer, so folk are taking it a lot further down the road. It's where these bigger tankers are coming in. It all depends. Different digesters you go to have different nutrients in the digestate. Some N levels are a lot higher, some P levels are a lot higher. Just sort of depends. But you can sort of work out on like a radius where it's viable to take it to. And with the digestate, you can haul it a lot further and it's still cost efficient. Cow slurry, yeah, we lead a lot of cow slurry and pig slurry. Find them jobs are a lot closer, leading it maybe 3 or 4 miles. Instead of a digestate, you could be taking it 7, 8, 10 miles. Application rates, really, it all just comes down to the same thing. What's in the slurry or the digestate. Some cow slurry, depending on what they're bedding the cattle on, how much rainwater's going to the lagoon, can determine your rates. You can be putting higher rates on with that. Same with pig slurry. Digestate, you seem to normally find that it's normally a lot more settled out, it's a lot more even, and the digesters are always sampling it. If their digestate's too nutrients when they let it out of the plants, then the plants aren't taking everything out of it. So they're fairly on the ball, knowing what that's worth. So within like half an hour, you can just speak to a digester and say, right, I want to know what's in that digestate. Give it to the farmer, he can work out where he can take it.
My dad, he was ahead of his time. You know, I can remember when I was at school back in like the 1970s, some of the ideas that he came up with for the farm. He said we should have a loading shovel for loading, not a tractor and loader. Well, at that time, I'm talking 1970s, late 1970s, nobody had, you know, or very few farmers had those. We couldn't afford one. We had to wait until 1986, and that's when we got our very first loading shovel, which was a JCB 412 Farm Master. And again, we've got one of those in our collection that's been restored. He had a lot of good ideas. Yeah, good man, yeah. Well, I'd be very proud, but to be fair, he did see a lot of it. You know, we got to a fair old size before we lost him, yeah. I don't know about my granddad, because he just thought there was just farming and that was all, and he was always negative about contracting, wagons, anything like that. Anything that involved machinery or wheels, it was no good because there was too much depreciation, because he was actually an accountant for a year when he left school, and then he got the tenancy on this place in 1940 and came here. So he was always very good with figures, but he always did the bookkeeping on the farm. It was old-fashioned then with like a ledger and like cash analysis, and it was all done like a huge page per month. And I sort of took over doing that from him when I was 16 for the farm. But then obviously things got bigger, we became computerised, and then we got to be more businesses. You know, we couldn't do it like that now, we wouldn't have a chance. Yeah, we've been very lucky, the 3 brothers. or myself and my two brothers in, that we've all got on very well over the years, and I think that's one of the major things that's gone towards the success of these businesses here. Our interests, have evolved over the years. Philip's always been, interested in the cows 100%. Brian, he used to feed the cows, did Brian. I used to milk them, and that was when Philip was still at school. And then when Philip left school, he came in and was milking as well. And then as we got bigger, obviously we had to employ people and moved on from there. Brian, he sort of used to run the contracting originally. And believe it or not, I used to actually drive the forager when we first started back in 1988. 1989, 90, until we got big and we had to employ like a full-time forager driver and things. Well, I quite like driving a machine or two, but it's quite difficult to do it all the time, and I probably won't want to do it all the time because of the office, the demands in the office. I'm always in the office between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the morning, and in that 2 hours, until I go for my breakfast, I can achieve more in the office on my own, quiet, than I do the rest of the day, which is really good. That gives me a good start. Then after that, it's a mixture of being in the office and outside on a machine. Richard, my son, he probably told you that we have a JCB 419, or he has, should I say, and it's amazing around here how much, like tidying up, just moving some pallets around, little things like that, making the safety bunds in the quarry, like after blasting, helping the blasting people, and I enjoy that, or being on one of the big excavators.
So my history within the farm, I left school in 2017, went to college on an apprenticeship, and in that time I was driving the tractors on the contracting business. I did that for 3 years, and then I decided I wanted to come back to the farm and work down here, see what I could do down here. Along the way I picked up my HGV test, so I can do the wagon driving as well. I've approached the farm the other way around as such. I haven't started from the farm in the dairy and gone off and done other things. I've started out and come almost back round to it now. I've got an idea of the whole business, and now I'm back on the cows. When I was on the contracting, I picked up a lot of skills, a lot of ideas, learnt the spanners, learnt how to fix things, brought that back to the dairy, because the dairy was in a bad position where things were getting bodged, as bad as it sounds, and I brought this back, and just regular checks, servicing, things getting the attention they need, doing it all myself. I've got a bit more help now, but at the time I was doing it all myself, implementing that. When I was first on call, maybe 4 years ago, it was nearly every night getting called out because this and that had broken. Just by learning to keep things maintained and just all that routine maintenance, I hardly ever get called out for something that's physically broken. So it all comes back to time at the end of the day. So in the last 7 years, I've learned it's real importance for making things efficient or even labour-free, and a lot of stuff that I've done here on the farm, pumping systems, electrical systems, machinery-wise, automation. I've got a keen interest in automation. We're not wanting to replace our staff at all. It just makes the whole experience a lot better, we find. Staff know what they're coming to, they know they're not going to have any problems. That's what our aim is. Yeah, I think keeping the work down, especially in the evenings, trying to do all this preventative stuff, minimise call-outs. I do still get called out quite a bit, especially now I've taken on the AD plant. It can just be little daft things like a pump's blocked up that needs winching out, and it's worse when you've got so many things going on and everything's breaking, especially in the evening, and you could be coming out and you could be out for hours, and that's what takes away your work-life balance. So that's what I'm aiming to do, is keep on top of things, keep everything right and call-outs to the minimum. So 5-year, 10-year plan. We're not looking to go up in cow numbers. I think we just want to improve what we've got. I'd love to have more cows in the future. It's not going to happen anytime soon, but we need to make sure that the infrastructure we've got is going to support us. And I think now is the key time to focus on that, which is a lot of what I do anyway. Just things like building work in sheds that's just deteriorated over time, strengthening it, make it all look new again, and that'll carry us forward in the future if we do decide to do anything like that. I'd like to see some more robots on the farm. I don't know what that'll be yet, but I've got a very keen interest in the automatic feeding, so I'd love to put something like that in, but again, I don't think the technology's there for the larger farms yet, so that could be a while down the road. Just things like making the separators automatic. We've got a robotic teat brush in the parlour that we're fitting at the moment, so that'll make staff in the parlours' lives easier. Yeah, I think automation and improving what we've got's the key thing for the next 5 or 10 years.
Long-term planning, we've never really had long-term plans. It's just happened, and if something's been right, we've done it. You know, there's some decisions can literally be made in an hour or two, quite major decisions, you know, between the 3 brothers, myself and my 2 brothers. I never go to work when I go in the morning. I go because I like going, and I don't feel like I'm working. I feel like I'm doing things that I enjoy. I'm very lucky. Stress, no. I probably have a lot of pressure, but I don't maybe feel it. The only time I had some stress was when I worked in Russia for 5 years. We used to farm 50,000 hectares in Russia, and I was the chief executive of that company, and I was answering to other shareholders and things, which, yeah, that's when it gets a bit more stressful, when it's other people's money. But round here, no, I love it, and as I say, we've got some really good people, not just in the quarry, but you know, through all the businesses. Yes, I am proud, and we are proud. There's a lot of satisfaction because we effectively set off with very little. You know, like I said, there was just my dad and my uncle 2 days a week and 80 cows, and that was in 1980-ish. And then, you know, 2 brothers, and there's now 230 people, you know, employed either on this site or from this site, you know, with the wagons down the road and things. So, yeah, that's from one part-time man to 230 full-time. Plus, there's a lot of subcontractors as well, which we employ. My wife said, "When will you retire?" It wasn't that she was wanting me to retire, but I don't know really. I said farmers don't retire. They usually retire when they go in a box. You know, we've always been ambitious, and there's 3 brothers in the family, and plus the sons that's coming on that are ambitious as well. But all I would say is, you know, if you're willing to work hard, go for it. It's amazing what you can achieve.
I took a Greyhound down to Georgia, then a rental up to Maine. But how I hope for California in the spring. Tonight I leave the only home I've ever known. Got a couple $100 that I'm gonna blow on a used guitar, a Fender or an Epiphone. What doesn't kill me makes me wonder and think of what the future will bring. But how I hope for California in the spring. Open road now, gonna find a place where my heart hits the ground. City light shine, and it gives me a rush of adrenaline every time. I'm on my way, gonna catch that plane, trying not to get lost in the Everglades. In the start of a dream, it's a story deciding to change. Go find the change. I took a bus back down to Nashville, in Carolina in my mind. But I hope for California